Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's tutorial is going to be a really quick one on just how we make these wavy lines like this. And the trick here is to make them crisp and sharp and look really, really nice like this. So let's jump straight into the tutorial. Okay, before we do anything, we need to install an SVG support plugin. By default, WordPress won't work with the SVGs, and when you try and upload them, it will just say like file not compatible or something along those lines. Just come over to the plugin page, type in SVG, and then you're looking for, I just use this top one, SVG support by Ben Bodie, well, I don't know. But there's a couple on here. Feel free to use any of the ones that have got, plenty of active installs. So here we go then, I've got a blank page open, ready to go. So I'm going to add my first element, which is going to be a section. I'm just going to leave that as default for now, because it's going to be nice and boring. Then inside of that, we're going to add in a banner. So this banner is going to actually have the image background of what we actually want to display for the banner. We're going to leave that text as is. It's not really important for the moment. Add in a bit of an overlay just to make it a bit easier to see. Now we're going to go back up to this section and just remove this padding that gets automatically added to every new section. Great. Now what we're going to do, just to save a little bit of time, we're going to duplicate that entire section. However, this time around, we're going to come into our banner here and hit options, and we're going to remove that image. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to add a background image that is the wave SVG file. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Google, and we're just going to search for SVG waves. And the first result that will come up is getwaves.io. And this is what you're presented with. Now you can see you can have a good real play here, and you can have 1,001 different options for your curves and whatever you fancy putting in. I'm going to go with, I think that one. That one looks quite cool. Now over here you can see you can select your color. Now it's important that you pick a color that your content will be after the waves, if that makes sense. So if I just add in a row here and it's just going to be white afterwards, all you need to do is white. If you're going to do gray, then you need to make it gray, and it needs to be the exact same color. So in this example, I'm just going to put like the content is just going to go to white. I'll just put some text here for the sake of the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into the banner, and we're going to set the transparency of it to full, and then we're going to remove that text box because we don't need that anymore. Now we're going to get our SVG, and now we're happy with the shape. We're going to make it white, hit download, and hit download SVG, and that actually gives us a file rather than this code, which is another way you can go about doing this. But I think doing it this way is much, much easier, especially if you guys that aren't really familiar with any code and don't, the look of code makes you feel a little bit sick. So all we're going to do is banner options, select media, upload, chuck in our wave, use this image. There we go. You can see absolutely nothing because, as I said, it's white on white. So if I change the color of this, maybe you can see it. There you go. Now you can see it's kind of making an impact over here. So what we now need to do is remove that color again. We don't want that. And then what we need to do is the height here. Now the height is all of the heights and all of the margins that I'm going to give you in this video. I'm doing them all with percentages. Now the reason for that is that if you ever have a play with this yourself, you'll see what I mean. But the banner and the curves, everything moves about a little bit, and they start to overlap and interfere with each other. Whereas if everything is on a percentage, it scales nice and cleanly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that 500 pixels that's in there, and I'm just going to hit percentage, and that will let me then input 15%. And then I'm going to take this little blue dot here, and I'm going to put it down at basically the lowest and furthest point of the curve. So probably around there. I want that as low as possible so the curve is always completely in shot. Great. So now we just need to make this actual wave that is here, although you can't see it. We just need to make it overlap our banner. So what we're going to do, we're going to come up to this top section, go on options, and then on margin, again, hit percentage, and then we're going to put in -15. And there straight away you can see that that's now covering it and looks really cool. Now you are going to then have to go and change the banner height as well. This one doesn't necessarily need to be in a percentage figure, although you certainly could do it again to kind of keep things a bit more consistent as the screen sizes change. But for this example, I don't think I'm going to bother. I'm going to leave it there. Now we've done that margin, you can see that actually, look, just here, it's getting cut off. So what we're going to do, come back into here and we'll get our little blue dot, and we're just going to drag that up slightly and bring it back into shot. Now again, this is why I've done it as a percentage, because that should now remain fairly consistent across every screen size. It's not going to get cut off. Whereas before, if it was a fixed pixel height rather than a percentage, this screen size might be okay, for example, but then if you made it load smaller, it then wouldn't be. Like here, it would then cut off, and it looks a bit weird if you've got these nice waves, and then all of a sudden there's just a straight line through it. The only other thing to mention is if you wanted to tighten up where the next kind of content begins after these waves, obviously the way that these waves are, because it comes down quite low just here, it's probably okay where it is. But on this first example over here, for example, you can see that this content wants to be pushed right up. Now, the way you can do that is really simple. You just come into this section and you do, again, percentage, and then we're going to do -5%. But what you're going to spot is that it gets covered up. This row goes underneath the section. So what we're going to do really easy, no need to use any CSS or anything like that. All we're going to do is going to open up a new section, and then we're going to put that row inside section. And there you go. For those of you guys that know CSS, you'll, I'm sure, be familiar with Z-index. In layman's terms, basically all that does is decides the order of elements. So whether you want them to bring them to the front, whether you want to bring them to the back, and so on. And that is one way to kind of fix that issue. But essentially, if you put something in a section inside the Flatsome UX builder, the section always goes above everything else. So you see when we have that just in a row, it gets hidden. As soon as it goes inside that section, the section comes to the front. And there we go, we can overlap that quite safely. And that's as simple as that. There's your nice pretty waves. No need for any coding or any extra CSS or anything like that. Purely all in the UX builder. As always, if you check the link in the description, it will go to my website where you can download the UX shortcode for this exact kind of setup that I've just made. And then you can go and plug in your own images and your own SVGs once you've gone over to getwaves.io and got yourself some waves. If you're more proficient with programs like Adobe Illustrator, then you can create SVGs yourself and your own kind of curves and waves and whatever you want to do and upload them that way as well. But that's it for today, guys. Real quick video. I hope you learned something. Subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one.